Chapter 14. Nora. Is that a gray hair? I look up at my reflection, wide-eyed. What the fuck did you just say? My makeup artist runs a brush over the back of my head. The light emitted from the mirror reveals hair strands of black and one gray in her palm. Our jaws drop as if it's the first time we've witnessed a sign of aging. I tilt my head. Impossible. There's more than one, she replies cautiously, sifting a handful of hair through her fingertips. She lets it fall against the back of my head. Don't freak out. We can pluck them before you get on stage. I fold my lips between my teeth to keep from hyperventilating. I want her to tell me she's joking. I want her and the rest of the hair and makeup team to tell me I'm radiating like they do every time I sit in this chair. I want to feel dangerous and powerful and youthful. Instead, I feel betrayed. Not so much by her comment, but by death. Have you been stressed? She asks. Me? Stressed? I fixate on my phone screen, hearing the sound of roaring fans in the stadium just outside my room. The script for tonight's episode of Greater Good floods the screen. I've been reading over it since Samuel told me that Mendax now wants me to be the new host. With my reputation now overpowering the industry and beyond, it was only a matter of time before I claimed center stage of the show I created. I saw it coming and embraced the opportunity with open arms, so I'm most certainly not stressed. My eyes meet the makeup artist's in the mirror's reflection. I don't stress, I reply coolly. She leans over my shoulder to grab a pair of tweezers. You can talk to me, you know. I signed a million NDAs, so I'm forced to keep your secrets. I appreciate the reassurance, I mutter. I scrunch my nose at the sudden pinch. She places a gray strand of hair on the countertop below the mirror. It mocks me, and before I can silence it, I feel another pinch. So, you're not worried about that Joseph guy? She sets another gray strand next to the first. It's kind of scary to see how much traction he's getting, even with the news bashing him over and over again. He was interviewed on this podcast my little brother watches. I wince at the third hair plucked. I think his scar is hot, but my friend doesn't. I feel like it's this, damaged bad boy vibe that... Shut up! I stand and snatch the tweezers from her feeble little hand. I don't give a shit about what you think or what your little brother watches. Get the fuck out. Go! Her face flushes, tears welling. You heard me. Go! I'll do my own damn makeup. I don't feel the slightest bit of remorse as the girl grabs her bag and scurries out of the room. When the door slams behind her, I notice I'm holding the tweezers like a weapon I intended to stab her with. With the tweezers still raised, I face my reflection. The truth is that I am stressed. Last week, Joseph almost ruined everything by leaking what I said to him during the studio tour. I was the queen of a castle I built with my own hands, and he snuck right in and exposed me for what I may actually be. Some witch. Since then, Samuel and I have conjured up a series of threats, none of them successful. We proved that we know where his little support group meets, and where his kid goes to school. All of our media outlets are simultaneously slandering his name, and he still won't let up. With Samuel constantly reminding me that this look away movement needs to be stopped before it gets any bigger, I put together a last-ditch effort by sending Joseph a golden guest pass. If that doesn't get through his thick skull, we'll be forced to prove that we know where he lives. My eyes lock on the gray hairs that threaten my youth. They lie there, reminding me that despite my quest for immortality, I am, in fact, mortal. I've done death's bidding, and for what? To be reminded that despite my loyalty and sacrifice, I will one day die too? The mirror cracks as I throw the tweezers at my reflection. The sound of the impact bounces off the walls, and when the tweezers land on the countertop next to the hairs, I look up to see the crack, which lines the left side of my face. Even when I'm alone, I can't escape Joseph. Leave me alone, I hiss under my breath. With my palms pressed over the cold countertop, my breath fogs the mirror as I continue. I'm not like you. I'm not part of the crowd. I'm not broken. I'm more. I'm so much more. I'm alone. Reality seeps into my mind like a distant echo lingering at the outer rim of my consciousness. Everything I thought I was given, fame, wealth, and power, was never truly given to me. It was lent to me. The pleasures of this world don't belong to me. I'm merely borrowing them. If it's the universe that formed me from atoms, to atoms I will return. If it's God who breathed life into me, my breath he will take. The sad reality is that, despite what I gain, become, or accomplish, death will deliver me back to whoever created me. I fall back into the vanity chair, wallowing in a pool of thoughts I've been suppressing for weeks. I imagine what Ryan would say about my performance. If he saw me right now, something tells me he wouldn't scold me, though that's what I deserve. Something tells me he would understand that I simply made a bad deal with death. And even though I introduced him to death, he would still feel sympathy for me. Deep down, I know that he would still love me despite my hurting him, and that's what hurts me the most. The knocks on the door don't faze me in the slightest. Nora? I look up to see Dorothy standing at the doorway. I brace myself for a jealous rant, a list of jabs and digs about how I snaked my way into her role as the new host. Even in the dimmed lighting of the green room, Dorothy glows. A pit forms on my stomach, knowing Dorothy's beauty was God-given. She didn't have to sell her soul or make a deal with death the way I did. I watch her pan curiously around the room. Her hair has been slicked into a low bun, a thin layer of orange eyeshadow popping in contrast with her tan skin. Regardless of her radiating beauty, she carries herself with less confidence than usual. Hosting Madison Square Garden, huh? She forces a smile. That's amazing. Her words are genuine, making it hard for me to take part in whatever conversation this is. I almost wish she would scold me for stealing her job, for letting my career take precedence over what could have been a friendship between us. She gestures toward the empty couch. May I? I nod, and she sits. Samuel broke the news to me this morning. I'm happy for you, truly. Are you? I ask skeptically. It doesn't take an expert to know that being a professional in the entertainment industry also means being a professional liar. Dorothy could be trying to throw me off just minutes before I get up on stage. Nora, you might have lost sight of this along the way, but we were always in this together, she continues. I will never see you as competition, but I will say I am worried about you. She stands from the couch, her hand over her heart. I haven't heard from you since Ryan died. It killed me to know that he was a contestant, and I wanted to tell you before the show, but Roth wouldn't let me. I begin to find Dorothy's presence unsettling. A spiritual force is working through her that threatens death. Don't let her distract you, Nora. Death stirs unease within me, wanting me to rid myself of whatever spirit Dorothy's carrying with her. I'm doing all right, I say, forcing a smile. Thanks for checking on me. Dorothy frowns, picking up on my verbal dismissal. I would never tell her this, but I'm afraid that the more she speaks, the less prepared I'll be to host tonight. She stands to her feet and nods respectfully. They want me to be your understudy in case you're not able to host at any point the rest of the season. I came to tell you to break a leg. She places a hand on my knee. And I never thanked you for casting me. So, thank you. Thank you for seeing something in me. And thank you for giving me a chance to prove myself. Regardless of what happens with greater good, I've always got your back, she adds. I keep my eyes on the ground between us, refusing to show her a sliver of vulnerability. My peace returns when she finally leaves. Before the door shuts behind her, a crew member pushes it open. Sorry to bother, Nora, the crew member says. Just wanted to give you the list of contestants so you can read up on them before you open tonight. He cautiously slides a single sheet of paper on the coffee table in the middle of the room. Upon seeing the cracked mirror, he flashes a nervous smile. I'll leave you to it. I stumble to the couch and lift the paper. I drag my eyes over the random names of contestants until I get to the third name. Thoughts of Dorothy, Ryan, and all other distractions vanish when I recognize it. A crooked smile hugs the bottom of my face when I realize the impact of tonight's show will be unforgettable, leaving a lasting impression on anybody supporting greater good or even look away. It'll be the most morbid display imaginable, the final blow, ending the war between Joseph and myself once and for all. I laugh, gripping the edges of the paper in my fingertips. Sweet death, you've done it again. As I'm escorted by crew members from the green room, a surge of energy surrounds me. The dimly lit backstage area is buzzing, men and women in black shirts and headsets moving swiftly to orchestrate the final preparations for tonight's spectacle. My heart rate accelerates when I hear the distant hum of the crowd from all around. It shakes the ceiling, walls, and ground below. For the first time, Greater Good will be broadcast in Madison Square Garden, an arena seating 20,000 people, and I will stand center stage. Mendax has never hosted an event this big, from today's biggest pop stars performing as our opening act to the grand suicidal display at the end of tonight's show, and I've never felt more alive. The sound of conversations among crew members competes with the click of my orange heels while I walk up the narrow corridor. Security is glued to each side of me, their eyes vigilant for any sign of protest or disrespect. My tolerance for haters has only grown. If there's one thing I've learned, fame comes at the price of protest. The dark walls are adorned with posters of iconic artists. Midnight Mirage, Faye, Ani Black. The list of musicians and performers just keeps going. I imagine my poster up on this wall sandwiched between such talent. A reminder to all who come after me that by some chance, they might live up to NORA FICTUS, creator of greater good. The opening act is finishing in 5 minutes. Let's get her mic'd up. A producer commands a small group of crew members. I'm guided into a wide space, the ceiling made up of transparent black panels and steel beams so low I can reach up and grab them. A small black box is attached to my miniskirt. Does that bother you? A crew member asks. I shake my head. A makeup artist steps in front of me. With determined eyes, she applies last-second touch-ups. No gray hairs? I ask before holding my breath. No gray hairs, she replies, allowing me to breathe again. Another crew member gently fastens a microphone to my ear. Nora, give us a test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. The crew member looks over my shoulder at the crew manning the sound booth. They respond with a thumbs up. Sound check complete. You got the green light. I hear one of them shout. Eyes, chin, shoulders. After the approval of a few more producers and crew, I'm left alone on an orange platform. Since the moment my identity has been attached to greater good, orange has become my color. Trademarking a color is quite the power move. It's one of the many moves I take pride in having made. My orange heels and the platform I stand on suddenly shimmer. At first, the light is a single beam until it spreads wide. I lift my chin, consumed by flashing lights as the ceiling above me opens. Crew members clap and shout praise as I'm raised above them toward the opening. The praise of my team and the increasing hum of the crowd fuel me more than ever before. I'm bolstered from all angles, confidence flowing through me as if it's been injected into my veins. The platform rises higher and higher. The audience roars louder and louder. I spread my arms, engulfed by an ocean of worship as I'm lifted to center stage. It's showtime. Greater Good, live at Madison Square Garden Arena. 70s music plays as a single spotlight illuminates NORA FICTUS rising from the ground below. Her black blouse and skirt contrast the vibrant orange platform she stands on. An unsettling presence makes itself known as the LED screens above her read, Greater Good, in bright orange letters. The cheers and shouts of 20,000 audience members shake the arena. NORA FICTUS stands still, her head panning from left to right, as she relishes this euphoric moment. The praise continues for nearly a minute before she lifts her hands higher with a cunning smile. Good evening, and welcome to Greater Good, the show for the morbidly curious. NORA FICTUS struts to the edge of the circular stage. Death is in the building. Thanks to your love and support, we're bringing you your favorite show live from Madison Square Garden Arena. On tonight's episode, 3 contestants will share their stories, the hardships they've been through, and what's led them to their breaking points. We've hand-selected these contestants based on their generosity and willingness to take their lives on live television and in front of thousands in the flesh tonight. You already know how it works. The contestant with the most votes will give their cash prize to their estate or charity of their choice. Now, let's hear it for our martyrs. The stadium suddenly goes dark. The LED screens in the center and around the stadium revealing contestant number 1, twins conjoined at the waist, in an intimate, dimly lit studio room. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourselves? I'm Scarlett, I'm 29. I'm Jane, also 29. We're conjoined twins attached at the pelvis. Life is tough, for reasons you'd imagine. We share everything. I was about to say that. Don't cut me off when I'm talking. You always cut me off when I'm talking. We share everything, from our stomach to the men we sleep with. As you could assume, it gets pretty complicated. It gets really complicated. I can only imagine. I'm sure the challenges you face are unfathomable to most people you encounter daily. Have you sought solutions to these problems you face? If you're referring to surgery, the answer is yes. We've talked to surgeons all around the world. A handful of those surgeons even offered to do the procedure for free. Well, they offered to do it so that they can say they operated on conjoined twins. And that's what's kept you from doing the procedure? Every surgeon says the same thing. And what's that? Since we're split almost right down the middle, they can only save one of us, and it's up to us to choose which should be saved and which should die. How could they make you choose who lives and who dies? That's just terrible. We won't choose. We can't choose. It's both of us or none. And that's why you're here today? Contestant number 1, twins nod, their gazes disheartened. What do you plan to do with your winnings? If we win, we want the money donated to our parents. They've been nothing but supportive. They spent all the money they had on our therapists and treatments. They've flown us to just about every surgeon so that they could find a way to help us justify this life. Our life. And so, we're done. And we want them to be rewarded for the effort they put into raising us because living is harder on them than it is for us. Wow. Just wow. Your story is truly inspiring, and I hope you know that the sacrifice you're making for your family requires obscene amounts of courage. The LED screens fade to black. A spotlight reveals contestant number 1, twins, rising from the platform below as they sit in a plush orange chair. The crowd applauds and whispers among each other from their seats. Contestant number 1, twins, wave from their chair. Nora, standing behind contestant number 1, twins, with hands on their backs. We feel for you both, Scarlett and Jane. We commend you for your bravery and willingness to take your own life for a good greater than yourself. And now, let's meet our second contestant. The LED screens in the center and around the stadium reveal contestant number 2 in an intimate, dimly lit studio room. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself? Contestant number 2, holding down the button on their throat device. I'm Dwayne. I have laryngeal cancer. The cancer led me to rely on this device to communicate. We're so sorry to hear that, Dwayne. Does it hurt to speak? It's hard to speak, but it doesn't hurt. Was your laryngeal cancer caused by something specific? I smoked cigarettes since I was 15. After 22 years of smoking a pack a day, I found out about my condition. Smoking truly is a nasty habit, isn't it? Contestant number 2 closes his eyes and nods. What inspired you to apply for greater good? My wife left me. Finding someone new with this condition is nearly impossible. How tragic. What do you intend to do with the cash prize if you win? I want the money donated to lung cancer research. Contestant number 2 looks directly at the camera. If you can stop smoking, then stop. Don't lose everything like me. The LED screens fade to black. A spotlight reveals contestant number 2 rising from the platform below as he sits in a plush orange chair. The crowd applauds from their seats. Contestant number 2 waves from his chair, which faces opposite of contestant number 1, twins. Nora, standing behind contestant number 2 with her hand on his back. We feel for you, Dwayne. Hopefully, people will keep from smoking because it truly is a nasty habit. We commend you for your bravery and willingness to take your own life for a good greater than yourself. And now, let's meet our third and final contestant. The LED screens in the center and around the stadium reveal contestant number 3 in an intimate, dimly lit studio room. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself? My name's Nikki Williams.